Hello, everyone, and welcome to our live session today. I get so excited about doing these sessions because it gives me an opportunity to just chit chat with you, to just really talk about kind of things that I'm experiencing, things that I'm going through, and also an opportunity for me to hopefully inspire you, hopefully maybe get you to do something that you haven't done before, something that you've considered doing before, or maybe even give you that nudge that you might have needed when it comes to things like growing your business, when it comes to things like finding your voice, and when it comes to things like really making sure that you are stretching yourself so that you are offering your audience, your customers, really the world, the best that you have. And today's topic is none other than one of those topics that I really hope it's an opportunity for you to maybe reflect and look at things a little bit differently. I wanted to spend a little bit of time today talking to you, maybe honestly and openly, about my journey, about what I've been doing this year and how I've changed and tried to kind of do things differently in 2020 after all the craziness that's been happening in the world. And also, it was really an opportunity for me to kind of reassess what I was doing and really think about, was I doing everything I could do? Was I finding little roadblocks and things that were keeping me and holding me back from getting my voice and finding my voice? And today, what I really want to talk about is how important it is for all of us to make sure we come out of our shell, to make sure that many of us are out there talking about what we're passionate about and what we care about. Now, I know we all come from different personalities. Many of us may be introverts, some of us may be extroverts, and some of us may be a little bit in between or reflects between them. So, what I'm not trying to do today is make you stop being you. I'm not trying to get you to pick up someone else's personality. But what I want to do today is inspire you to think about how you can get the information that you have to the world, your gift that you have to the world, out to the world without it being a best kept secret. Because what can happen in our day to day lives, what can happen when we're running our businesses, is we start to feel like we don't have enough time to do things. We can start to feel like, I can't get this done, I can't get that done because I'm running out of time. And what happens is we can tend to kind of burrow deep. We can start to spend all this time in our business doing things, making things happen, but we're not really out there in the world participating. We're not always out in the world actually doing the things that we should be doing as part of the community. And I would say that's one of the biggest things that I've started to do differently in 2020. So when I reflect on the year, when I reflect on the things that have changed me and shaped me this year, is that I'm starting to kind of walk away from that idea of not having enough time. Walk away from that idea of that I can't get these things done, and kind of working my perspective, re-seeing the world and saying, where do I want to spend my time? It is my time. I have control. I'm in the driver's seat. And I'm sitting down and saying, where do I want to spend my time? Do I want to spend my time with clients? Do I want to spend my time with my vegan business community? Do I want to spend my time working on certain projects and volunteering? And as I started to make that assessment, it meant I needed to run my business differently. It meant that where I spent my time, where I when I stayed up late, when I worked on weekends, anytime I was making exceptions to the rules, I was supposed to make those exceptions to the rules to do the things that I wanted to do more of versus making those exceptions to do the things that I just wanted to grind and I kind of mumbled under my breath doing. Now, I don't want to make it sound like everything we do in our business is going to be things that, you know, we're all going to love. There are things that we have to grind. There are things that we have to do that are a little bit hard, a little bit gritty in our businesses. And I think that's a part of the process. It's a part of the growth. But what I do want to say and recommend, and one thing that I've been growing into and learning and kind of, I don't know, just getting my head around is that my time is precious, and therefore I want to give that time to people. I want to spend time like I spend today talking to you. I want to spend time like I do during the week where I interview vegan business owners. And what I want to do is I want to spend more time in my community. I want to spend more time getting to know people, building relationships. Because when I look at my business and I look at maybe the last 10 years that we've been doing this, I've met some amazing people. I've met some people that are just tremendous in what they've done. I've met people on their journey when they were just starting their business before they were the big name and the keynote speaker. And what's happened is over the years, I haven't done such a great job of keeping in touch. I haven't done such a great job of maintaining those relationships. I haven't done such a great job of going deeper in kind of our experiences so that it wasn't just I'd see somebody when, I bump into them at a veg fest, or I'd see someone when I'd go to an event and that was our connection. The idea is I want something deeper. I want more. And therefore, if I want more, I have to change. So if you are in the same scenario that I'm in, if you're thinking about your connections, if you're thinking about your community, if you're thinking about what you do, what I want you to do is think now as you move forward for the rest of the year, is think about how you can spend more time with your community. How do you spend more time talking about what you care about? How do you spend more time reaching out to people? And how do you make sure that you're not kind of locking yourself away in your office, locking yourself away behind a computer, and kind of getting to the point where you're just kind of in those independent modes where you're not connected. Now, let me talk about why it matters and why I decided this year to come out and be out a little bit more and talk to you more. So, the one reason I did it is because with all of the changes that we've had in the world, we're social distancing. I'm not seeing people like I used to see them. I'm not traveling like I used to. And I really enjoyed those connections. I really enjoyed being able to catch up with people. And what I found is because I wasn't maintaining the kind of connection between the Veg Fest, the speaking engagements, the events, and so forth, those relationships weren't being nurtured. So this year, what I started to do is say, how do I keep those relationships alive? How do I build new relationships? Because I'm not traveling, because we're social distancing. And what I've tried to do with a lot of my podcasts, with a lot of these live sessions, is to use them as opportunities for me to catch up with people. Use them as an opportunity for me to find out what people are doing differently in the world. To use this as an opportunity for me to stay connected. Now, for some of you out there, you may be like, Stephanie, I'm not ready to do a podcast. I'm not ready to go completely live. And give me a few minutes. I may nudge you into that in a few minutes. But what I want you to do is find your own way. It doesn't mean you have to do it the way I'm doing it, but what I don't want you to do is feel like you're an island. I don't want you to sit out in kind of your business, especially in today's environment, especially when many of us are really going to probably be in the social distancing mode longer than any of us ever expected. So therefore, use this time to rethink about how you stay connected. Okay? The other thing is, I want you to start thinking about your voice. I want you to start thinking about what you have to say about what's going on in the world. There's been kind of these moments in 2020 where the world is speaking up about things that maybe haven't been addressed in the public, have not maybe been in the headlines before. For me personally, really the changes and the issues that are happening in the Black community, it just breaks my heart. It just I am so personally involved and so personally affected by it. I'm even personally impacted by it while we have these new protocols, even in our house, where we're talking about what do we do and how do we handle things. And when I say new protocols, we always had them in place, but we're a lot more cautious now, especially since I do live in a new city. We've only been here about 4 years. So we're coming up with ways to keep us safe. We're coming up ways where we're talking with people in our community, our neighbors, on how we can keep each other safe, how we can connect and talk to each other if something happens. And while it shouldn't be something that we have to do as Americans here, it's the reality that we live in. So, what I'm kind of saying to you guys today is that as the world has changed, and some of it for the better, and some of it, maybe not is going in the direction we hoped it would go in, what I want you to do is feel more comfortable speaking out about things you care about. Now, I don't want you to feel like you have to be controversial. I don't want you to feel like you have to get out there and make people mad. That's not my style. And if it's not your style, you don't have to do it either. But what I want you to do is have the courage to tell people what you think, or if you don't have a strong opinion, tell people how you've grown. Talk about how you've changed or what information you've come across that has allowed you to have a new perspective, to look at things differently, to really kind of reassess things. Now, some of this may be about your vegan journey. Some of this may be about why you started your business. And some of this may be about just a different perspective and how you operate, how you treat your team, how you work with your team because maybe they're working more remotely than they've ever done before. Maybe it's how you're going to communicate and talk to your customers when you have a setback, when you have a challenge. As business owners, we like to keep our distance between, our failures and our successes. And maybe this is the year that you allow yourself to share some of those challenges you've had. Maybe it's time for you not to be afraid of failing and not be afraid of sharing that with others and talk about it more as a learning opportunity. That's what I mean by coming out of your shell. That's what I mean by making these changes. I want you to feel more free to talk. Now, don't get me wrong. When you start talking in the public sphere, it can get scary. When you start to talk and share your opinion, people may not agree with you. And the people that don't agree with you may not agree with you in an aggressive way. But we can't let the people who maybe are not the people that you're talking to derail you from helping the people that you can help. We can't let someone who's not a customer derail you from talking to your customers. We can't let a person who has no interest in supporting you or being in your corner or hearing your message keep you from getting that message out to someone that you can help. So don't let anyone keep you from helping others. Don't let anyone keep you from connecting with the people that matter in your world and in your community. Because if we let someone else keep you down, if we let someone else keep you from expressing yourself and sharing what you have to offer, there's so many people in the world that are missing the opportunity to grow and learn from you. And I say that from experience. I don't say that from an arrogant place. I don't say that from a perspective of I know it all, because I don't. I'm learning, I'm trying new things, I'm getting better. Hopefully, you feel the same with these live sessions and communicating and connecting and telling you about how I feel and what I'm thinking and what I recommend. Every day and every week, I try to be a little bit better. So when I'm giving you this advice, I'm saying it to you because some of these roads I've been down, some of these roads I've stumbled down, some of these roads I had to sit on the side of the road and just hang my head down because it's been hard. It's been challenging. But what I want to do is always in these messages share with you what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I'm trying to do, so that if you can learn the lesson through my stumble, and you don't have to stumble, that's a blessing for me. If it means you have to go through it too, then it's okay. I want us to be able to get together, chit chat about it. I want us to talk about it in our messages in LinkedIn or our Facebook Messenger, chit chat and say, oh, that same thing happened to me, Stephanie, and this is what I did. That to me is a beautiful thing. And that is something that fuels me when we're all socially distanced. Those are the things that help me when I'm having a hard time. Those are the things that when I struggle with these decisions I have to make, or when I'm trying to do something and I think I'm not sure if this is the right direction or the wrong direction, and if I should try something new, when I hear from someone that they benefited from my try, from my attempt, I understand better that I have to keep going. I have to keep trying. I have to keep doing things. And sometimes it may mean I'm doing it live, I'm doing it in scenarios like this. And maybe I didn't do it as well as I could have, but I'm going to do it better. And by me trying, by me testing, and by me doing the things that I ask my clients to do, by me doing the things that I'm asking you to do, what I'm showing you is I'm willing to take that leap. And what I hope today, when you watch this session, or when you're listening to it as part of your podcast, that you'll be willing to take that leap too. That you'll be willing to think about how you can do things differently, how you can get outside of your business and connect with people, and why it's so important, especially as you're doing all the great things that you're doing in 2020, that you have the connection with your community because it's going to help you. This year and next year, we don't know what's going to kind of happen. I don't have that crystal ball or that visibility. So the idea is, why do it alone? Why do it with just a few people when you can do it with a community behind you? All you have to do is be willing to speak up, is be willing to talk. It's be willing to have conversations. And maybe you don't have to do it in kind of traditional environments. Maybe some of you are bloggers, and that's great. You love to blog. You love to get out there, kind of type out your opinions and your thoughts. Now, for me personally, typing out my opinions and my thoughts takes me a long time. It just takes, I don't know why, if I'm typing it out, it's just a little bit of a slow kind of, you know, drip, like if you had a faucet on as an example. But if I get to speak, if I get to talk, if I have an environment like an interview or something, then I find I can flow a little bit better. Then I find I can get this information out in a very real time scenario. So for me, I love live video like this. I love the opportunity to talk. Now, could you do recorded videos? Absolutely. But I'm going to recommend that you try live video on social media. Now, why do I want you to go live? Yes, it's a buzz. Yes, it's trendy. We can talk about all of those things. But the big reason I want you to go live is I want you to get better and better at speaking your voice, at expressing yourself in real time. Because when you do it in a recorded setting, when you get to do like 10 takes, 15 takes to crystallize your message, it's great. It is definitely more polished, and it's a great way to get your message out to the world when you want to have something that's more succinct and compact. But what can happen is you can start to train yourself not to trust your gut, to not be at a place where you can get on the phone with someone and express yourself, that you're not able to maybe do interviews and say what you're thinking because you need time. You need a way to kind of process it. And I don't want to make it sound like all of us can do everything on the fly. I'm not trying to, as always, make you something you're not. But what I want you to do as you're thinking about getting your voice out, as you're thinking about sharing your message, is I want you to practice the skill of being able to talk about what you care about, what you're passionate about, to be able to talk about those things in a setting that doesn't require you to rewrite, require you to re-record, or to do it again. And it doesn't mean you won't still have some polished messages. We still do some recorded videos. There's plenty of things that I do multiple takes on. And definitely when I write an article, I write it and my editor makes it beautiful for me. So I don't want to make it sound like everything I do is one time perfect. That's not my point. My point is that I need you, and I really want to recommend that you constantly build skills out there. And one way to build your skill, one way to be able to communicate with people, one way to be able to really make sure your messaging is getting out to the world is to have a vehicle, have a process where you can talk live, when you can just express yourself. And yeah, it feels weird. I don't have an audience in front of me. I don't have anyone head nodding. Some of you are giving me some likes. I really appreciate it. So this is definitely the opportunity to smash those like buttons so that I can see that you're enjoying these sessions. Or even if you're doing it as a replay, I get to check it out as a replay. And that's great feedback that helps me and can help anyone in a live setting, especially when you're doing these live sessions like this. But I do want to make sure that you don't put parameters on expressing yourself. You always want to be able to talk about what you know, talk about things that can help others, and also make sure you're making your community and making kind of the people closest to you better by making sure your voice is heard. All right. And then the last thing I just want to mention, especially for many of us that are vegans out there, is what should that messaging be? How do we come out of our shell? How do we talk about these things? Because some of these things can feel a little controversial. They can feel a little dicey. Or maybe you have a topic close to your heart and you're going to come out a little bit hot on it. And what I want to say to you, or at least give you some of my perspective on it, is that I think it's important for you to make sure that when you are coming out of your shell, when you're spending time and talking about what you're doing, what I want you to do is make sure you're willing to come out for a dialogue and discussion. I'm not asking you to come out as the authority all the time. Yes, you're an expert in things, and it's time for you to give your expert opinion. But I also want to make sure that you always come out, even when you're giving your opinion, that you also come out open for dialogue and feedback. I want you to always think about this idea that of voicing your message, the idea of explaining your perspective is not just about putting it out there, but also being willing to bring feedback in, to hear other perspectives, and to also think about these moments or these opportunities as it more of a sharing scenario as opposed to you have the microphone and you control the message. Now, I bring that up because for many of us, we have a little bit of activism kind of running through our bloods. For many of us, we run a business and we have our business hat on, but our activist side may respond a little bit differently than our business owner, business manager side may respond. They may have slightly different personalities out in the world. And if that's the case, what I want you to do is spend some time reconciling those things. Think about when you're speaking about your business or when you're speaking through your brand, where and how does your activism play a role? Now, in some cases, what you would do personally, like if you were on your personal Facebook page, what you may say may be slightly different than what you may put under your business brand because your business brand supports a wider audience. But what I want you to do is make sure you reconcile those approaches because I don't want you to feel like you're two different people. I don't want you to feel like you're not genuine. So, what it requires often is a little bit of thought on what are some of the personal things that I care about and how do they align with my brand? Where is there a conflict with my brand, if there is one? Or where is there a place where what I would normally say in my branding overlaps? And where I want you to start is start with those overlaps. I think sometimes we start where the issues are and we get stuck in the issues, or we feel like we have to kind of walk this tightrope on the issues. And what I'd rather you do first is figure out where the overlap is. Where are things very common? Where are things that you can talk about that you feel comfortable in your business having those discussions? And where at times in your business, in your brand, does it make sense for you to be able to not only talk about things that matter to you, but the style in which you present those? There's a difference between when you're having a discussion with someone, even if they were sitting next to you, how you would have that discussion versus if you were at a rally with a megaphone. And what I think sometimes happens is we mix up those kind of opportunities, those chances. We think just because we're on social media, it's always megaphone time. It's time to scream it, to yell it, and to say, what do we want? We want it now. And yes, there is a time for that, but sometimes it doesn't mean that you need to use the same type of approach in all of your channels. Sometimes what it really means is you can communicate a similar thing that you care about, a similar thing that's important to you, but present it in a different way so that the audience that you're sending it to can digest it. Because remember, I want you to come out. I want you to talk about what you're passionate about. I want you to share these ideals with the world. I want people to understand where your ethics lie, and I want people to understand what is really important to you. But what I want you to do is remember the conversation isn't just about you sharing it. So, therefore, how you share it is equally important because what you're trying to do when you're sharing it is it's not just a therapy exercise where you're just pushing it out. It's actually a point of trying to make sure it lands. So, therefore, pay attention to your style. Pay attention to how you get that information out. And how do you get it out to audiences that are a little bit closer to you? So, maybe messaging that you may put out to the vegan community, messaging that you may put out to foodies, messaging that you may put out to people who are concerned about the environment versus someone who's like, I don't even know what veganism is about, and I'm not even sure I'm interested in it. It's a different audience. So if you want your messaging to land, if you want your messaging to reach that audience, cater it. It doesn't mean that you're watering it down. It doesn't mean that you're compromising it. What you're doing is you're using the style and approach to ensure that you're more effective with that audience. So give that some thought. And if you have some ideas, or if anyone out there has struggled with this and found a way through it, I'd love to hear it in the comments. What I love about doing these sessions is a great opportunity for me to see in the comments what you guys think, what's inspiring you, what you're trying and testing. So let me know how you've done that. But I wanted to do this session today because I want to nudge many of you to get out there and to share your messaging, to get out there and tell others. And it doesn't have to be in this format. It doesn't have to be the way I do it. And it can even be in short format. Maybe you just do them as quick quotes. Maybe you do them in a more comical way. Maybe you do them as recorded videos. But what I want to do is make sure that you are getting your voice heard. You are not letting your business shield you from getting that message out, or your business task or to-do list keep you from doing more in your community. And I don't want you to miss opportunities to reach different audiences, to communicate with people, and to let people know your business exists because you haven't spent the time to figure out not only how to get that message out and how to make that message impactful to the audience that you're giving it to, but you're also not missing these opportunities to connect. Because as we stay a little bit more than 6 feet away from each other these days, I want you to make sure that you remember we need to stay connected. We need to hear your voice. There's a huge opportunity to do it. I've been trying it, testing it, didn't know how these formats, how these sessions would go. And I'm going to still keep doing it because I'm learning, I'm connecting, I'm seeing people, I'm meeting people that I don't know if I ever would have been able to meet at a Veg Fest if I haven't done these sessions. And it has really changed my world. It has changed my life. And honestly, I have to really thank many of you that have watched these, that have joined me live, that has responded as a replay. It's a little overwhelming how just wonderful it's been, because you've made my world better. You've made it easier for me to cope with everything that's happened in my business this year, everything that's impacted the people that I love and the people that I know, because I know many of you are out there, many of you are listening, many of you are giving me a stage for me to share my message and to share what I'm kind of what's important to me. And you have been listening, supporting, liking, sharing. And I just want to say thank you, because from the bottom of my heart, it means the world to me. It's so great to know that many of you are listening and that I've been inspiring you. Thank you so much, Nicola. It's so great to see your message pop up on the screen. So what I want to do is continue to do these. I want to continue to inspire you. And I'm hoping today's session will maybe nudge you along and get you to start speaking out, to start telling others about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what you're passionate about, and really making sure you stay connected in the socially distanced world that we all live in, because it's important for everyone to know who you are, what you have to contribute, and that connection, that touch that we love to have is so key and so important this year. And I want to make sure that we keep us all going and keep us all connected. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Thank you so much for hopefully listening and maybe being inspired by this. And I look forward to seeing you in our next live session. Bye, everyone.